Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Insufficient Friends. I'm Kevin. She's Nikki.
Hi. And if you're new here, this is a podcast where Kevin and I sit down and have a chat about anything that's interesting to us. So if you don't enjoy what we talk about, tell us what to talk about. Today we are talking about Harry Truman, which we've talked about this before. We mentioned this last episode. Really, our topics are all over the
Yeah,
place. Like truly all over the place.
yeah.
Last week was reality TV
Mm-hmm.
and Vanderpump Villa, like Secret Lives of
Unfortunately.
Mormon Wives.
Yep, unfortunately.
And this week is Harry Truman.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
Yeah.
Kev, do you have any shout outs or anything for this episode?
I don't, but I think you do.
I do. I have one. Because the day that this is going to air, if I looked at my calendar right,
It's the
which is
day before.
always
It's the day before Memorial Day.
okay, so
Tomorrow
I
is
think I'm
Memorial Day, so
right.
happy Memorial Day, folks. Happy Memorial
Yes.
Day,
So I think I'm right.
and thank you to
Um,
everybody who has served.
yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that. Um, okay. So I'm pretty sure I looked at my calendar right then, and my cousin Anthony is getting married, and Nathan's going to be in the wedding, and that's going to be a big day for our entire family. So congrats, Anthony and Andrea. I think I have the date right. So congratulations.
Congratulations. Hope you guys have a long and happy life together.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've already been together forever, and she's already been to like 7 Christmases, so they're basically already married, but
Well,
now it's
hope
gonna
you
be like
guys
official.
have a continued long and happy life together.
Yep.
Anyway, now to the 33rd president of the United States and the only one from Missouri,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
is, I guess, pretty good considering we haven't even had 50 yet. So that
Yeah.
means you haven't even had a president. You haven't been able to have a president from every state yet. It's not even possible.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. And interesting that I mean I grew up like basically where he grew up,
mm-hmm.
which is always just really interesting. Us being like historically minded,
Yeah.
um, and me like my brain living in the past all the time, it's just interesting to me.
Yeah.
So that was the inspo for this episode, was just another thing that's interesting to me that I think about all the time. This is one of my Roman empires, I think, because I grew up here and heard about it all the time.
I mean, that makes sense. You kind of grew up there. Didn't kind of grow up there. You grew up there. Um,
Hmm.
his library is right there. We talked about that a few
Yeah.
episodes ago a little bit. We talked
Yep.
about his library a little bit. Um, it's
Yeah.
it's a cool place to go see. Like
Hmm.
any presidential library is cool to see. That's
Yeah.
the second one that I've seen. It's the second one that I've been to.
Okay. I think I've been to others too. I know I've been to Lincoln
Okay, I have
because
not been
that's
to Lincoln.
Illinois,
Yeah, I have
because
not
that's
been to
in
Lincoln's.
Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been, well, and see, here's the thing. There's a lot of overlap in my brain that I don't remember which like presidential houses I've been to versus like their official libraries. Like I know I've been to Washington's house,
Oh yeah.
Jackson's house.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I've been to Jefferson's house, but they
Yeah.
weren't the real like libraries,
No,
I don't think.
I've been to I've been to Mount Vernon, which is Washington's home.
Hmm.
I've been to Monticello, which is Jefferson's home.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can. I don't know if they even have libraries. Like I don't know if if
Yeah.
that going back that far, if they even have libraries as presidents. I could be very wrong. I haven't done any in
Mhm.
it, so
Yeah,
don't
I don't know.
come at me or yell at me or anything. I don't have a flippin' clue. I'm
Yeah, we're
very
insufficient.
insufficient.
Also, that's a good call out. This episode is going to be extremely
Yeah.
insufficient on Harry Truman
Um.
because, like, there's a lot with any historical topic. You could have an entire podcast dedicated to Harry Truman,
Oh,
and we're gonna do 20 minutes. So,
have you ever heard of the podcast called Hardcore History? I think it's called Hardcore History.
Mm-mm.
So this guy does like a topic, and his episodes will be like 6 hours long
Oh my gosh, yeah.
for
I can't
like
even
a
stay
topic.
awake for 6 hours, Kev, much less talk for 6 hours. So we're gonna do 20
Yeah,
minutes.
we're gonna do like 20 minutes. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I've been to Clinton's library. That's the other library that I've been
Okay.
to, which is
Is that
in
in Oklahoma?
no, it's in Arkansas because that's where he was from. Is
Arkansas.
Arkansas? Yeah, it's
I
in
knew it
Little
was
Rock.
somewhere around there.
Yeah,
They all blend together.
it's in Little Rock.
The South does. Anyways, yeah, so Harry Truman Harry Truman graduated high school in Independence, and I grew up in Blue Springs, and they border each other. It's
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes.
Yep.
So um I grew up like everyone in our area went to his home and library and everything on field trips. So
Yeah.
he graduated high school in 1901, which is insane to think about someone graduating high school that long ago. I don't know, like the timeline
That
seems
means he was
crazy.
born in the 1800s.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
insane. So he worked as a bank clerk as well, which you and I have both worked as
Yes.
a bank
I
clerk.
still work as a bank clerk at times. Yes. Yeah.
They had his in the library, they had his like job application and some of like his performance reviews from the bank. It was pretty cool. I'm like, this is way different than our performance reviews now. But it was cool. Um, so 1901, that's when he graduated, worked as a bank clerk for a couple of years. 1906, he moved to his family farm near Grandview, which is like southeast Kansas City,
Take
because
that with a grain
it's,
of salt, folks, because she is not good with directions.
yeah, it's down and right. So that's southeast. Yeah, southeast
Right
Kansas City.
when you're going which direction, right?
Going towards New York to the right.
When you're okay, so when you're looking at the map, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess it's backwards for you as I'm doing this, probably doing my hand signals. Yes, when you're looking at a map of Missouri, it's down and towards the East Coast.
Okay, then it's
So
east. Yes.
southeast.
Right and left change directions depending on if you're going north or south. So it depends on which direction you're traveling.
I'm looking at
If you're
a
looking at
picture
a
of
map,
Missouri
yes.
in my head.
If you're looking at a map, yes, you're correct. It is
Yeah.
east. Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
But
well,
what I'm
Kevin,
saying is like
I'm
if you're
literally picturing like a picture of Missouri
yeah
in my
yeah you're
head.
correct. You're correct.
Okay.
It is south and east. Yes. Yeah.
Grandview. So that's where his
Oh.
family farm was.
Oh man. Okay. Anyway.
So he moved back to the family farm, took it over after his father passed away. That was 1914. In 1917, he volunteered for the National Guard. And he was sent overseas. He was sent to France and was a captain of a artillery unit.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a really cool section of the library that got super in depth into his military history and
Mm-hmm.
how the men doubted him, but he was actually a really good leader. He had this Irish Catholic uh, battalion or whatever the name is of his group of soldiers that he managed. And they were known for going through leaders really quickly because they were crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but rowdy, not crazy, rowdy. And he led them very well. And so there's a whole section of his military history that's just fascinating.
Yeah.
But after his like leadership success in the war, he came back. He had owned a haberdashery, but I don't think it was very successful when they went into the recession, the 1920s. But he was eventually introduced to Tom Pendergast. Tom Pendergast was ruler of Kansas City in this time period. We've briefly talked about him before because I've been to Tomstown, which is just a distillery that's named after him. Because we talked about him a little bit when we talked about Prohibition. He was the Democratic boss of Kansas City. He had a whole political machine,
Mm-hmm.
um, lots of corruption and everything, but he basically ruled Kansas City. He did, even though he was corrupt and probably did bad things, he also did a lot of really good things for Kansas City in the long run. Like, he is one of the reasons Kansas City is still on the map today as it
Mm-hmm.
is. So, a lot of the buildings, like a lot of the massive buildings downtown were Pendergast buildings. So he had a lot of influence. But anyways, he controlled this political machine in Kansas City. And that's how Harry Truman got his start into politics. So that's how he got his start. And then it also kind of clouded his, Senate runs and everything in the future because he was kind of correlated with Tom Pendergast. But he was known himself as being such like an honest, down to earth, good guy that people were able to kind of separate it. So it didn't end up hurting him in the long run,
Mm-hmm.
clearly because he ended up vice president. But
Yeah.
um that's kind of how he got his start. But yeah, so eventually, he served a lot of different political offices. He was kind of like the original Doge. He found a lot of like waste. He did a lot of good things when he was in office,
Yeah.
and then eventually he became vice president.
Yeah. He was a judge. He was a judge in Jackson County for several
Hmm.
years. Um, before
Yep.
moving to the U.S. Senate in the 30s. In 1934, he was elected to the Senate. He uh, eventually, in 1944, so 10 years later, he was nominated to be vice president to FDR. Um, and then became president uh, 82 days after becoming
Hmm.
vice president. So 82 days. So what is that?
Crazy.
Less than 3 months later, he became president
Hmm.
because FDR died,
Yeah.
which is, you know, it's just
Hmm.
what happened.
And
Uh,
he was wildly unprepared.
yeah, he wasn't prepared at all.
Because of it's like FDR, this you don't quite understand at the museum, they kind of delved into it, but FDR either didn't know or didn't know to the extent that he was sick or something. So Truman was very unprepared.
Yeah, and also, this I believe is also the time when is this? It says he was nominated to be vice president. I don't know if this was the time too before you picked your vice president when you got
Yeah, I
voted
think it
into the
was
election.
different.
Yeah, so um, I don't know if they got along or if not. I'm not really sure. Um, also,
Hmm.
this was in the middle. FDR had been president for this was his fourth term. He had
Hmm.
been president for a long
Yeah.
time. This was in the middle of World War II that Truman is taking
Hmm.
over. So this is a
Yeah.
very, very
He
rough,
inherited a mess.
very rough time to become a president.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah.
And you
So
can tell that in his letters. And like his letters home to his mom and to Bess, his wife, you can tell he was stressing.
yeah, and I totally understand that too.
Hmm.
So yeah, in in April 12th of 1945 is when he was sworn in as the president of the United States. Um, and one of his, one of the acts we talked about before that he did, and one of the things that is in his library that it talks about, is dropping the nuclear bomb on Japan,
Hmm.
which is one of the things that ended the ended
War.
World War II. Um,
Yeah.
it's only time that one of those bombs, a nuclear bomb, has been used in actual combat against actual
Hmm.
people, um, killed thousands and thousands of people, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I can't imagine what kind of how what kind of decision that could have been for a person.
It was so obviously I wasn't there, but in the library they have all his letters and all the documents behind his thought processing there and his cabinet's advisory and everything. And he says in his letters he was trying to target just military targets,
Mm-hmm.
but in Japan, I don't know if it's still like this, but at that time, the military and civilian, it was all the same
Yeah.
thing. So there was no location that was just purely a military target.
Yeah.
So there's a whole section of the library of like, and this is another thing I love about the Truman Library and just Truman in general and his views on things. He was open to criticism and he would open it up to question like, what would you have done? And so there's a whole section of the library that follows that same theme where you can read his letters, you can read all the options he had, what he ended up choosing. And, there's like message boards and things where you can talk with other guests about like if you agree or not. It's very interesting.
Hmm.
But there was a lot of heavy, heavy feelings that he had about that for sure.
Yeah. Um, he went on to in 1948. He ran for re-election. He ended up winning, which is a very famous election. He was a very famous photo where after he won, of him holding up the newspaper that says Dewey defeats Truman after he won, because I don't remember what newspaper it was at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
basically they went with early numbers and didn't stay up late enough and printed the newspaper early and said that he had
Yeah.
lost the election. And he was expected to lose. He was kind of not well liked after
Mm-hmm.
the end of the war. Things hadn't gone well ever, but he pulled it out and won. So he left in 53, retired, and went back to independence and just ran his library. Like, he became what he
Mm-hmm.
called the citizen president or whatever, something like that. It was something, he had a
Yeah,
name
the
for
people's
it.
president or something.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was something, he had a name for it, but he basically just ran his library. That's almost
Yeah.
all he did.
Yeah,
He
he just
just,
talked with
yeah,
people from around the area, talked with visitors
yeah,
and hmm
which is,
and he was very active in the community. So I have a couple of like his favorite places in Kansas City, but he spent a lot of time at the library. He had an actual office
mhm. You
at
can go see
the
the
presidential
office. It's
library.
still there.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
it as it was. It's
yeah.
so fascinating. I love that like approach he took to everything because most presidential libraries, at least that I know of, are not like that at all. It's not that open and they didn't have that much input or openness about it.
Hmm.
So I love that like authentic openness about it, which maybe that's a product of being a small town Missouri boy. I don't know. I don't know what it is about his thought processes on everything, but it's very fascinating. But in the community, besides the library, museum, whatever, he spent a lot of time at Dixon's Chili. He ate there a lot, which they have all you can eat tacos that are very good. I can't do all you can eat anymore, but like they're
That
very
sounds good.
good. Yeah.
Love tacos.
Um, he also liked the Savoy Grill, which they still have. So they had like closed for renovations, I think, in like 2016, but I think they're back open now. And they've always had a booth, like his booth that him and
The
Bess ate at a
The
lot, like
Truman booth.
dedicated to him.
Okay.
So, and then there's a soda, a Clinton soda fountain. It used to be like a drugstore. Now it's a soda fountain, but it's still the same. It's where one of his first jobs was before. I think
Okay.
before he was a bank clerk, like he worked at this drugstore soda fountain thing.
Yeah.
So the soda fountain's still open, still does ice cream,
Yeah.
soda, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so he was very much still open and in the community openly, even after
Okay.
presidency. Him and Bess both were,
Nice.
which is really interesting.
Yeah.
You can't do that nowadays because of security.
Yeah, you wouldn't. You
But
wouldn't be able to anymore. Mm-mm.
yeah, I think my favorite thing about him is the buck stops here. I know that's like very cheesy, when you think of Harry Truman, you think of the buck stops here, but that's like my favorite thing, like
Yeah.
taking accountability and that mindset that he had about
The
things.
mindset of, yeah, he was the person who really made the decisions. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And he took accountability for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That and I also love how he was just a true romantic, like him and Beth. I love reading their love letters in the museum. Me just being me. I walk through and it's like you could cry. They're so cute. And of course it's like the old-timey language.
Mm-hmm.
Like I yearn for you and I'm like, "Oh my God." Meanwhile, like Casey's like, "All right, love you, bye." And I'm like, "Why can't you write me a World War II love letter?"
Oh man.
So I like that
Because I
too.
don't
There's
think
a
you
lot
want your
of very interesting things.
I don't think you want your husband going off to war to need to write you a
No,
World War II
I just
love
want the
letter.
letter. I just want the letter.
Yeah, I know, I know, I know. Anyway, okay, I think it's time for facts.
Yep.
Fact.
Lord. Okay, Nick, what's your fact for this week?
So mine is that Harry was in line at a concession stand ordering a hot dog and soda when he learned he was going to be vice president and was called up to the stage.
Interesting. Okay, where was this at?
One of the like whatever convention where they elect the vice president.
Oh,
I don't really fully understand how it worked at that time versus how it works now, but
oh, you mean
it's
okay,
wherever they were.
The Democratic
Yeah,
National Convention. Okay,
I think so. So wherever they were, he was in line to order a hot dog and soda and then was like called up to the stage as he was in line.
okay, interesting. That's fun.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. My fun fact is you always see his name. Anytime you see his name, it's signed Harry S. Truman. The S doesn't stand for anything. He doesn't have a middle name. It is just S.
Mhm.
Uh, there is. He mentioned it in like an interview one time that it was supposed to. It was like a compromise between both of his grandparents or something. Like what was his?
Yeah, like
Um,
his parents didn't know which grandparent to honor type of
yeah,
thing.
Anderson,
Hmm.
Ship Truman, or Solomon Young were his grandfathers. They didn't know which one to name him after, so it's just S.
Yeah.
And I guess it was in the 60s that he started putting the period after it,
Hmm.
and it's just always been a period. Don't
Yeah.
don't know why it's still there. Apparently, he said at some point that it shouldn't really be there because it doesn't really have any. It doesn't stand for anything. It's just an S. So
Hmm.
he's apparently not good at grammar, I guess, or
Well, he didn't go to college.
yeah.
He only
So
graduated high school. Yeah.
there you go. I guess. Yeah.
Another fun fact.
Harry S. Truman.
Hmm.
But yeah, S doesn't stand for a damn thing.
Yeah.
Um, I don't.
It's like Junie Jones or the Beast. No, the B does stand for something. It always makes me think of it though, because it's the first opening line of all the Junie Jones books is like, Junie Jones. The B stands for Beatrice, but I like B, or I don't remember. I haven't read that since I was literally like 4, but for some reason I just thought of that.
I don't have a clue as to what
Anyways,
you're talking about. So
good talk.
okay,
Thanks.
yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for this week. We'll end on that because I don't
Yeah.
freaking clue what that is. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this insufficient little discussion about Harry Truman. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. If you want us to talk about something else, leave it below, and we'll get to it. Probably sooner than you think. So yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.